What's happening, Roland? Well, today is Friday, and it's time for the Friday update. It's the first week of January. It's just right after the new year. It's just the first couple of days. You know, last week we had the crippling cold front, and my prediction, folks, was that the bass are going to spawn this week with the warming weather. And guess what? My prediction's right. As right now, the full moon, there's a full moon right now. The bass are on the beds. The water temperature's in the low 70s. The fish have now started to spawn in South Florida. Game on. We're fishing Lake Okeechobee. We're fishing the Headwaters. We're fishing the Garcia. We're fishing the Stick Marsh. All these places are really, really good. And I want to show you just the kind of lures that I recommend. Okay, first thing, I've always talked about the most productive lure for spawning fish is probably a little fluke or a Senko. And how I fish it is basically I'm throwing it into the area, and I'm fishing it real slow and easy. I'm a line watcher. I'm just going to fish it real slow, and I'm just barely moving it along because the fish are spawning now. And so what I have to think about is I have to think about a slow retrieve around the spawning bed. So again, when I make my cast, I have to really think about a slow retrieve. Okay, that's the first consideration with a Senko or a thing. So okay, this is rock solid. Okay, now my other choice, and I know you've heard me say, when I get into an area, particularly at Headwaters, where there's a lot of hydrilla and a lot of open holes in the hydrilla, I love this devil's horse. Now this is the standard large size devil horse, and I'm throwing on a 20-pound test line. Now what I do with this lure is a little bit different. I'm just throwing it right to the edge of the grass, okay? And what I'm going to do, I'm going to let it sit there until all the ripples die away. I'm just going to fish it really, 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 really slow and put little teeny twitches to it, just the slowest little twitches in the world, and fish it slow. People don't think they have to take a devil's horse around. That's not the case. The case is you fish it slow and easy, barely twitching it along like this, and you catch the big fish. Okay, that's the second really good choice I have for the Headwaters and spawning bass. Okay, the third choice I have is with all the hydrilla in the lake, there's tons of heavy hydrilla. And so what happens, you can't fish it a topwater very easily in a bunch of hydrilla flats. So you have to use a weedless frog. I use the Spro Pop 60. The Pro Pop 60, I open the hooks out a little bit. I run it on 65-pound test braid. I have a big frog rod. And here, the key is on the frogs, you throw the frogs past the hole. I'm fishing holes in the grass, holes in the hydrilla. And so when I throw it out there, I'm throwing it out to the past the hole, and actually pulling it across the grass, or not grass here, this is not grass here. And when I pull it across the grass, when I hit the open water, that's when I pause it. I pause it and just fish it real slow and easy, just twitch it along like this, twitch it along like that, pull it to the hole. These holes that these bass are spawning in are normally 5 or 6 or 7 feet in diameter. So I'm fishing just a couple times, twitch it along a couple times like this. And once it gets to the hydrilla on this side, then I just reel it in. I'm not fishing the hydrilla. I'm just fishing the little open holes in the hydrilla. But a frog, it's a weedless way of catching big bass. Okay, that's the third choice. Okay, now if you really want to cover a lot of water, one thing that we often do this time of year in the Headwaters Lake and Farm 13 and the Stick Marsh and all those kind of places where there's stumps and grass, is I'm taking this speed worm. This is the Magnum speed worm. And that's with an 1/8 of an ounce weight, and that's 50-pound braid. This is a whole different ballgame. This isn't like the Senko. The Senko I fished real slow and easy because I was throwing it in little holes and I was throwing on edges of hydrilla. With the speed worm, I'm often just fishing just big open flats of water. So what I'm doing, I'm throwing it way out there, and I'm doing just a slow retrieve because I don't know where the fish are. I'm just retrieving it along, and that tail is swimming, and I'm holding it in kind of in a strike position. And I'm just kind of reeling it along slow and easy. And I'm swimming it about 3 or 4 or 5 feet deep, and I'm swimming it the whole time. This is a swimming worm. This is the deal. This Magnum speed worm is just a killer deal. We catch a lot of monster bass, and also this is a big worm. and I can't show you in the water, but this tail really, really swims. That's a swimming combination. You got to pull that little part. Sometimes I'll pull a little bit hard like that. Again, a speed worm, you make a long cast, you just kind of reel it along. The whole time you're just reeling it along. And when you finally get to strike, you kind of go into it like you were fishing a regular worm, pause a second, get the rod low, and bam, set the hook. Okay, a speed worm is a killer deal this time of year. But some people would say, well, Roland, if you had just one lure and you wanted to fish it all day for an 8-pound bass, what would I choose? I'd probably, well, if it's real thick grass and real thick weeds, I'd probably flip into the hyacinths and hydrilla and real heavy cover. I'd flip with that. But that's just for mainly a summer day, a sunny day, and a cold front day. And flipping is one thing, but that's a way to catch a lot of bass, and the guys catch a lot of 5- and 6-pound bass flipping and pitching in the heavy hydrilla. That's certainly a deal. But for another way to catch a really big fish, I would say, if I just had a choice of one lure and just say, okay, I'm going to throw this all day long, try to catch an 8-pound bass, I'd probably go with the Swimbait. Now, you catch more fish on a Senko. You catch more fish on a devil's horse. You might not catch a whole lot of fish on this lure, but you might catch an 8-pound bass on this lure. And this is a Swimbait, and I have it on an 1/8-ounce keel weighted hook. I have it on 50-pound test braid. I have it on a big heavy-duty Phantom rod. And on this thing, I'm kind of like the speed worm. I'm making a long cast, and I'm just kind of swimming along, with the exception that I have polarized glasses. And often I'll see a little hole in the hydrilla, and when I'm reeling it along, I'll just drop it into the hole. Drop it into the hole, let it sink to the bottom, start reeling it out again. And in this Swimbait, I'm telling you, I've had so many bass in the 5-pound class to hit this Swimbait. This is probably, for the springtime fishing at Headwaters, a Swimbait like this. It could be a 4.5 hardtail grub. That could be another one. Or it could be this 5.5 big heavy duty, this is a Gambler Big Easy. Again, I'm just reeling it along, keeping the rod in the strike position, okay? And when they hit it, I'm going to go forward with it. I'm going to set the hook like a worm. Really, really heavy duty. Now, how much time do we have on the camera? Let me look. Let's just see. Let's see how much time. Was it 8 minutes or something like that? Oh yeah, 7 minutes. Okay. Now I've just explained how to catch them really with lures. But there's a better way to catch a really big fish, and that's with my net. Now for Christmas, I just got my new Calusa cast net. And that's really a big deal. When I throw a cast net, I put my pants on, and I don't have time right now because it's wet. And I also put a rain gear top on, a big deal like this this frog togs. I'll put the frog togs on, keep me dry as well. Because once you throw the net a couple times, everything gets wet. And this is a brand new net. It throws like a dream. I'm just going to show you how I do a triple load. And it's just such a good way to catch them. Catch plenty of bait, catch plenty of big bass. And when I throw this net, what I do, I take the first load, that's the first, the second load, and then I clean the net out, get real nice, get my second load right here, okay? Now, to throw this net properly, I'm going to throw this one thing over my shoulder. If the camera would get back over here just for a second. Watch what I'm doing. This is so important to catch your own bait because this is a big deal. I'm going to throw this over my shoulder. Again, I'd have rain gear on. I'm going to take this part of the net, and I'm going to get basically half of it out, stretched out. And now I'm going to take, this is what they call the triple load system. And now when I throw it, I have my chum out there. This is catching free bait. I'm just going to swing it back. I'm just going to come back like this. Throw it out there. And look at that thing. Look at that. Look at all the bait I've caught. I've just caught a whole world of shiners. I've just covered them up. I've probably got 5 or 6 or 8 dozen shiners. So that's the thing. I keep them in my this is a 2072 tracker grizzly, and I have a great big 35-gallon live well. I have oxygen. I've canoed in to tranquilize them. I have special chemicals and salt. I keep my bait alive. I don't charge a penny for the bait, but we catch monster bass on the shiners. So if you want to come down to Florida and do some lure fishing, I'm showing you that. But for the big trophies, hey, get into the cast net, get into getting your own shiners. You'll catch a monster, I guarantee you. Hey, folks, that's great. I'm great bringing you this YouTube. Hey, and thanks for watching. We'll see you again soon.